Welcome back to Roompact's ResEdChat podcast, where we highlight cool people who do cool things and talk about cool stuff in residence life and college student housing. I'm your guest host, Custodial, and I use the she, her series pronouns. Today, we're talking to Chana Bailey and Norton Mitchell about the topic of how residence life and college student housing staff can support and partner with facilities and custodial staff. I had the pleasure of working with these two during my time at the University of California, Berkeley. They're some of the most talented, kind, thoughtful, and fun humans that I know. And so I'm very thrilled to have our guests here today to share their knowledge with us. I'll start off by having our guests introduce themselves.
Crystal, thank you so much. I'm really excited and to be able to share my experience with you all. Hi, my name is Chana Bailey. I am the Director of Residential Housing and Emergency Management for the University of California, Berkeley. I use the She, Her series, and I've been doing this for quite a while, so thank you.
And my name is Norton Mitchell. My position is Associate Director of Family Housing and the Residential Security Program. I'm currently stationed now in family housing specifically, but I've been working in single student housing for years before. It's over a couple of decades that I've been doing this sort of work. I'm excited to be here. The pronouns that I use are he, him, his.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for joining me today. I wanted to have you both on because during our time together, I remember the care, the thoughtfulness that you brought to making sure that our students had a place to call home. I think often in my work, when I was a live-in staff member, and then even a little bit after that, I didn't fully understand all of the pieces that went into maintaining a good partnership with our facilities and custodial staff team members. And you all taught me what that could look like with good communication, problem solving, being proactive, and really understanding your roles as well. And so I wanted to, so thank you for being here. And I also thought, based on some of the things I learned, it could be helpful to share what that partnership could look like with a wider audience. So before we get too far into pieces, can we start with you all talking about what is the role of custodial staff and facility staff? Because they're both different, but there's some overlap there, right? What is the role of those teams?
So from my perspective and from my experience, facility staff is kind of broken up into some other sections. Facility staff is you have the administration in the UC Berkeley world. We have administration who they run the front office, and that consists of the manager, an administrative assistant, and student assistants. And we pretty much are the heartbeat of that facility. And we run the front office. We take care of administrative concerns, keys, mail, lockouts, work orders that need to be put in if something else is broken or what have you. So that is the hub. And then from there, it goes out to custodial. And custodial are the individuals who are there cleaning, maintaining, fixing, preparing, and also their frontline staff up in the residence halls. Each custodian that may be working, they may have 4 floors in which they're responsible for, and they are the first ones that students see when they wake up in the morning. They establish that relationship with them. So as they move on through the whole entire year to the end of the semester, it's like they really have established a good rapport and a good partnership, or even a familyship per se, just within their own space. So custodial cleans, and they do more than clean, they care for. We always have to make it a point. I have to make it a point to help to remind individuals who may refer to them as janitors. No. They're custodians. And when you know of the definition of a custodian, that helps give it more context. So when residents come on board and they start living within the residence hall amongst us, sometimes we have to make sure that we help them understand the difference between the two. They're just not cleaning. They are caring for all of their spaces, including their residents as well. And then from there, we also have central maintenance and so on and so forth. And they too come in and they fix and they take care of and they repair or just also maintain. And if they happen to see something going on that doesn't look right, we've all been trained in that. They come back and they bring it back to whomever that they feel that's going to be able to take care of of the situation of the residents. I'll pause there. Norton?
Yeah, no, I echo the things you just said. In addition to the custodians, when Chana mentioned about the facility staff, there's the trades group, which includes the electrician, the plumbers, the steam fitters, the fire alarm technicians, and the maintenance folks, the senior maintenance people, right? So in general, when you walk onto a property and you see that building standing and the lights work and the water runs and the heat turns on, it's a testament to their engagement on a daily basis. There are different facilities when you show up to that particular site. The work of either custodial or, for example, grounds, who's part of the facilities teams, is a little bit more on display. Typically in high-rise buildings, you're looking at the shiny floors because you're entering to one entrance and then going up and down the building. So the custodial work becomes a lot more in focus, whereas when you have a property that's a lot more spread out. So you, when I think about, for example, Foothill, Clark Kerr family housing, you enter the property, you're going to see initially you're looking at the outdoors. That's a testament to grounds engagement there.
I love that. Oh, go ahead, Chana.
Oh, no, I was thinking as Norton was speaking, and it also, you know, I always go down to the bare bones foundationary origin of what it is.
Yeah.
To me, it's like living at home. And your family dynamics is you have an individual who pretty much do the majority of the cooking. You have that individual, at least as how I grew up, you have the individual who does a lot of the maintenance in the yard work and so on and so forth. And you have those, most time it's the children take out the trash and all of that. But it's like that family, it's that family dynamics in a sense, or that home dynamics where you have individuals within that structure who are responsible to do certain things. And it's the same thing here. When they come to us, it's a home away from home. And it's important to us that they feel comfortable within their home away from home. Actually, you know, and it's our opportunity to help pour into them as well. Education does not stop in the classroom or the lecture room. Education continues on with us. And it gives us the opportunity to show the students what it looks like on so many different levels, what it looks like to be to receive good customer service. You know, what it looks like is like when they have questions, they should be able to feel comfortable enough to come and have conversations with us, you know, from a facilities frontline operation perspective. So I'll pause there. Thanks.
I love these pieces because I think there's some misconceptions out there about it sounds like folks are not just, you know, taking care of properties and, you know, fixing stuff. There's this rapport piece that you talk about. Like, we care about the students, you know, we want to make sure they have what they need. And so can you talk a little bit more about maybe some additional misconceptions people have about the work that you do? Because you talked earlier about they're not janitors, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe they want to build relationships with students. Like, what are some other things that maybe you want to kind of set the record straight, if you will, on what you all do in the work?
Let me think. So over my years, I have well, definitely the janitor piece, and it's kind of difficult to say, but at the end of the day, here it is. I think maybe students coming in, you know, they're not aware that we care. They're not aware. And oftentimes they're afraid, well, you know, I don't want to cause any problems, or, you know, I don't want to put a work order in. I don't want to say. And so it's important that that is reiterated from a residential life perspective, that they pour into their RAs. So the RAs can make sure that the residents understand that we're comfortable, you know, to be comfortable with coming to us with things. But more so, I think the misconception is, you know, we're corporate, you know, we're just doing administrative work. And, you know, if you come to us, it's a bother, or, you know, if you have a problem, you know, we don't care. No, that's far from the truth. That's so far from the truth, because at the end of the day, they are our future. And it is important for me and for us that we do the best thing that we can do to help prepare them for that. Because I'm not going to be doing this forever. I'm not going to live forever. And at some point in time, I will be in the hands of these individuals who are here right now, being admitted and living in and all that. I remember when years ago, I received, I always get notes or just, you know, updates from some of my students, and they tell me how much they really appreciate it, even those I've had to let go, you know, from working with me, you know, something happened, but I always pour into them because they don't know. They're leaving high school, living with their parents, and they're coming here, and they're going to go whichever direction that they need to go. So it's important to us that they know how to, you know, effectively communicate, you know, how to ask properly, how to gain a better, how to build relationships, you know, how to build true relationships and be open, honest, transparent to the best of their ability, and take advantage of every opportunity that they have. I always tell my students, I said, it's not about what you do. That, you know, it's one thing about what you do. Anybody can follow the rules on a job description or what have you, you know, but it's most important to take a little bit of who you are and put it into what you do. And that's what makes it so unique. Can't nobody come behind you and do it like you do it, because you own it. And that's what we do. We own it. And so we do our best to whenever a student comes into our presence, to pour that into them. And then also one thing to pour it into, but show them what it looks like. So the misconceptions, I think, is more so that, oh, we're just here to get a job done. We don't care, you know, just this Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, sometimes weekends or what have you. But no, we generally care, no doubt about it. And I know that because custodians will come up and they'll tell their supervisors, like, you know, I noticed that something was different with this student. They're no longer here, or I haven't seen them, and normally they're sunshiny, you know, or what have you, and something's changed, and they're concerned. And so they bring it to the attention of the supervisor, and then we'll follow the path to that to make sure that someone goes in, or they'll talk to the RA. That's the most important piece, is that the RAs also have a good relationship with their staff who works within their buildings. So.
Yeah. You know, I like to add to what Chana said there. And one of the things I love about what you said, Chana, is about the human interaction part of it, right? Because we know that there's always this, every year I hear this consistently for as long as I've been in housing, right? You hear the staff talking about when the students arrive, and there's an excitement and a drive to want to participate. You hear the custodial staff saying, we're going to get the floors ready because the students are coming. When we have move-in, staff pivots and they help out in different things, whether they're going to take care of traffic, direct folks where to go, point out buildings. And it's an opportunity. There's a certain excitement is in the air, right? Sometimes a misconception, I think, comes from not understanding what it is that folks do, right? And so, you know, sometimes, for example, if people have left the trash right outside their door, it's not to be disrespectful. Sometimes it's just, oh, I thought they were going to come and get it. And I find that once we explain this, that they go, oh, you know, and they adjust, because we know these are folks coming into adulthood and living on their own. And there are teachable moments. So when Chana mentioned about the education doesn't stop, this is the out of the classroom experience and the out of the classroom learning that's taking place, where we're going to tell you certain things, or teach you certain things rather, so that when you move away from living with us and you're in your apartment living with others who are no longer your family, you know, and you're working with an apartment property management, you have a sense of how to navigate that, right? So those are some of the things that I see in terms of happening, where some of the misconceptions happen about what it is the role of that person is.
And here's the cool part. A lot of the things that you both shared are in alignment with the same thing our hall directors or our resident directors want, right? Our live-in entry-level folks, our RAs. They want to make sure that folks have the life skills, not just while they're living with us on campus, but when they transition off campus, right? They want them to be successful. So I hear a lot of parallels. How do you all, partner if we want the same thing, right? What does a successful partnership look like? How have you worked with your hall directors or resident directors, and trying to use broad language, right? But how have you worked with those live-in professional staff members to say we have the same goal? And what could a partnership look like to increase success for this academic year?
Norton, go for it. I've been going first this whole time, so you go first, sir.
This is a nice volley, so this is good. So
Yeah.
I'll say this, what I found to be a good recipe for success is that communication need to be happening. And it needs to be done in a way that that invite others to the table, that keeps people whole, that is built out of our birth, out of a need to want to be successful. And some of the ways we do this is that there are times when you need to give things or provide support that at that moment in time, there's really nothing in there for you other than you understand that you're all trying to serve the student and you do that. So there are times, for example, I'll give two quick examples, one for single student housing, how I've experienced it, and also for family housing. So say, for example, for facilities side, right? And as Chana mentioned about being the hub, the word I use a lot of time is about being the nexus of information, right? And so if we're fixing the roof of a building, now I would send that to the ResLife team to let them know that we're going to be working on the roof. Now, the perception may be like, well, what does this have to do with me? But the students or anybody coming to the property doesn't make a differentiation between the different groups. They just know all of you work here. So if PD is passing by and they see someone on the roof, or anybody is concerned, like, oh my God, there's somebody up there, then whoever they ask will be able to say, oh, they're fixing the roof, so that makes sense. So sometimes it's just information you need to know in that way. And that's a great thing. Another thing is I hear in family housing, for example, there was a kind of a back to school event going on, right? And so if we can let grounds know, then they can prepare the lawn, right? It may not be the weekend that we're going to cut the lawn, but they'll pivot and say, okay, fine. We know this is going to happen. Let's cut the lawn. Let's turn off the sprinklers. Let's put some more garbage outdoor containers out there with bags, things like that. It could be an opportunity because, again, I've always experienced this thing where staff is looking for a much more connected experience with the students, right? This way, they're not just going in to repair that outlet that something is going on, but they may be, say we're serving ice cream that day. They're like, yes, I'd love to be here that weekend to serve ice cream, and I can, I'll meet the person and they'll come to get their scoop and they're like, wait a minute, aren't you the guy that fixed my refrigerator? Okay, yeah, I need 2 scoops of that. You know what I'm saying? So it's to build those relationships so maintenance can show up, grounds can show up, custodial can show up. The different, is an opportunity to work with folks in a different way because there are times where we need that extra support. But now we know what's happening in each other's field because sometimes we're not aware of how the workflow for that particular group takes place. So I'll pause there. Chana?
Yeah, everything that Norton says, thank you, Norton. And then as you were speaking, what came up for me was what was I going to say? It's communication. Keep me in the loop, keep us in the know. You can't over communicate. You can definitely under communicate, but you can't over communicate. Anybody who's over communicating, you could tell them, yeah, I heard that before. I get it. Thank you. No, I'd much rather you over communicate. I do know in the past, what's really been helpful is you know, leading by example. When it comes to for residential life and facilities, or facility front desk, facilities operations and facilities. When I speak on facilities, I consider administrative, custodial, and central maintenance. So just so it's clear from my head. So they need to, before residents move in and RAs are here and they're going through training and all of that, because I know it's a lot. It's important that you bring those into, you bring us all in just for a moment, just to say, hi, RAs, hi, facilities team, this is who we are. These are the roles in which we play, because professional leadership, professional res life leadership, they're aware of what we do. But the RAs coming in, they're just new, and this is just new to them as it is to the residents coming in most of the time. So, and in their new roles. So I think it's great to see that, for them to see the partnership in what we have. We're coming together on one accord, and it sets the tone. So now the RA coming in and seeing this is like, oh, okay, this is how they get down. This is what we do. You know, it's not a them and a theirs. It's us together as one unit, all striving towards one goal. And I know historically I've seen that happen, and they are able to put a face with the name or what have you, or a face and a name with the task per se. It kind of softens the divide between the two, and it kind of builds that rapport from there. Because at the end of the day, we're all family. And what I mean by family, those in which whom you are most familiar with. And we spend a lot of time at work, just like we spend a lot of time at home. And it's like a family dynamic for me. And I was raised in this profession that way. I was raised in a sense of, I was raised with some old school folks, man. And they was like, okay, now company coming. You know what that means. And when you say company is coming, come on now, what do we do? Company's coming, you know, you got to deep clean, scrub, make sure. And that's the fire and the buzz that I love so much, because everybody buys into that. And it's important that the residential life staff or team understand, or not understand it, but they see that piece and they get it. And then more so passing it down to the RAs. And I always refer to the RAs because the RAs, just like the custodial team, they're front line. Mm-hmm. They're living on the, you know, they're living amongst their residents, and they need to, and it's important that they reassure the resident that, no, it's okay, you know, but also it's important that you help take care of the custodian who's responsible, or you be respectful to the administrative teams who are working at the front desk. And I know your mail's not there quite yet, but just know they are doing their best to get it done and make it happen. So I'll pause there.
I like this idea of understanding that everyone is doing their best. Mm-hmm. And I think there's more grace when we are in community, when we have relationships with each other. Because if Crystal is a human cleaning my floor, and I know Crystal, then I'm probably going to actually put my trash in the trash can. So Crystal's not picking that up and I'm not making a mess. And so it sounds like, you know, making sure that everyone has the opportunity to meet and connect is important. And I think also this idea of teamwork. We are all one team committed to making sure that everyone that touches the carpet, the floor of this space can feel really, really good about being here. So I love that, y'all. I want to transition a little bit. So I want to know pet peeves, or maybe more so like those top 5 common things that y'all see, where maybe we could be a little bit more proactive or on how we educate our students when they occupy the space. So, you know, broken exit signs, you know, overflowing trash. I don't know what it is, but in you all's experience, what are like those most common things you see that maybe we could help, you know, minimize if we do some different education?
I know for me and for my, what I've experienced is trash. You know, when they first move on and they first move in, and, you know, the recycling stream. Because now where we are, you know, you have to take it all the way down out to the bottom, and it's the processing of trash. please don't just default and put it in the trash can in in the bathrooms, please put it in the receptacles in which they're supposed to be in, especially when our sustainability group has really put a lot of hard work into making sure that it's clear, the instructions of what is supposed to go where, and educating them and having everything set up to them. So it should be pretty much a no-brainer. A pet peeve for me is that, students are just being students. That's who they are. I have to remember I'm dealing with 18-year-olds to start off with, but this is where they start that piece, and just put your trash where it belongs to go. Don't take the exit signs, please, because if we find them in your room, we're going to charge both of you off for it. Just take responsibility for your space. Have some pride for your space. Please don't trash everything, in those times, finals or whatever. We know what happens, and you don't intentionally trash it. But just know that your action is not just affects you. You have to think beyond the action. You have to think beyond what that looks like, and they're not there. So it's our response, that too, we have to help them remember that piece, because if you go trash it, you do whatever, there's going to be some consequences to those actions. And yeah, that the pet peeve piece is more so the maintaining and the consideration of those individuals who have to come behind and take care of and fix it, to make it, and moving the furniture. Don't stack the chairs in the elevator, please. We get it. I understand you want to move it around in the lounge, but in the elevator, really? Nah, because that means that somebody within our professional group is going to have to move them, and that puts more wear and tear on their body outside of what they continually have to do every day. Just that little stuff.
Oh, you have me cracking up. I'm like, yep. I think there, depending on which group we're talking with, right? For me, Chana, as you mentioned, in terms of the group that's coming in, where they are developmentally, right? We know certain things are going to happen. And so in that way, some stuff, this is what the group did last year, and the 10 other groups that came in before, they did the same thing. So we'll just roll with it, right? I think sometimes we have to understand what our priorities, the different groups' priorities are, right? And a lot of times for facilities as a whole, it's about safety. And with ResLife, and they're trying to create this space where students can feel at home. And that is part of facilities goals too. But some things where we are restricted by, in terms of the fire marshal codes, the OSHA codes, things like that. So if you are putting up items, ensure that it's not going to be a fire hazard, or if it's something that goes up, ensure that there's a follow-up to take those things down, because we have to keep the place safe, just as a rule of thumb, every single day. So a lot of times that is where our eyes are looking at, right? And it's not to say, well, we don't want the decorations up and all that, but sometimes we have to think differently about what all that looks like. And, there are times where it's not that it's too much decorations. What it is that some of that decoration, we're here in March, and some of that decoration is from October. So we need to get those things down. So in terms of pet peeve, ensure that we're following behind an activity to keep the space safe, right? The other thing I think too is to ensure that when we share information, to say, if you've got a situation, let us know. For example, in a work order, let's encourage folks to make sure those things that you need is communicated to us. Because if we're finding out late in the semester that your outlet wasn't working, and it's as simple as we coming in and flipping a switch on a fuse box or resetting that particular outlet, right? We need to know. And you can't be like, well, I've never used that plug, because, well, let us know, because again, they want you to be successful. The facilities team want you to be successful, and they're ready to take that call and try to set their priorities so they can rush over and say, okay, fine, let's make sure these lights work. Let's make sure you're getting warm water. Let's make sure the heat is coming in right. Let's make sure the window doesn't stick, all these different things. But there's a way to communicate with us. And sometimes it's not enough just to tell your RA, because that, the RAs are students too. Sometimes it's not just enough to tell the staff that's working on that particular floor at that particular time. So if there are things in terms of how to communicate, let's spread that information, if you put it in once, fine, put it in 10 times and it will kick it back that it's a duplicate, right? But at least it's there and you can track it and things like that, right? The other thing I would say is to just ensure that we are understanding what's going on in each other's lane. There are times where we have to respect, because when we build that rapport, Chana, when you mentioned earlier about, at some point in the start of the semester or even before the students arrive, that we all get together so we can see all the different people. Because sometimes it's alarming when you're like, oh my God, the room is packed. Yeah, it's a lot of people that's here to try to ensure success, right?
Yeah.
So we have to make sure that we're connecting with each other, right?
Mm-hmm.
We build that rapport so that when times come to have difficult conversation or get clarity, you can put a face to the name, as you mentioned, Crystal. We act differently when
Mm-hmm.
we know if I put this in, it's not going into some system. Crystal is going to be responding. You know what I'm saying? Tom from Grounds will be responding. Ara from the custodial team is going to. These are those things that I think will be very helpful.
It's building you have to develop trust.
Mm.
And in building trust, sometimes it takes a period of time, but then also, in my opinion, is like trust. If they trust that we're going to do what we're supposed to do, and we trust that they're going to do what they're supposed to do. Everybody starts off with a clean slate and move in. We trust that. And so we have to be consistent in maintaining that trust. And they have to be consistent for, us trusting them. And when I say them, I mean Res Life, I mean students, the student body, and everybody else. It's that trust that's most important. It's and then also, if you're available, if professional staff are available, attend the outside functions, just so they can see your face, just so they can, I know your name, but I've heard a lot about you. But it's good to make that connection, because it's making it more personable. We do what we do, but that's not who we are. And when you can take that, but like I always say, you take who you are and put in what you do, it makes a big difference. And it makes you be unforgettable in a sense.
Okay, y'all. So you all have shared so many wonderful things, and this next question might be hard. If you have your number one tip for how to best partner with custodial and facility staff, what would that be? For your takeaway, what's that number one thing?
Introduction. I was like, that's the one piece that's most important in the beginning. Set the tone. Bring the whole hub, the whole nexus together, all the facilities, all of Res Life, and create a way that they're able to get together. How you doing? It's not about roles. It's about human beings coming together, breaking bread, conversing, sharing information, sharing experiences, and see, oh yeah, I see that Amy has been here for almost 30 years. She's about to retire, but Amy has seen a whole lot working up there in those residence halls, working with these students. And actually, you can learn a little something from Amy from that. Or, Simon has been working in central maintenance, doing all these maintenance jobs over these years, and he's close to retirement. You better suck up that wisdom. So I would say the most important piece, in which we because I know Res Life, you all have a hard job trying to get all your teams ready for what they're about to encounter as students move in. But please make sure within your timeline, within your scheduling, carve out a little bit of time for them to come together and meet the custodial team, the facilities team. And so we can share a little bit of wisdom. And that really helps set the tone, and it makes for a better semester or year moving forward. That's my piece.
I want to say I have nothing to add to what Chana just said. That's exactly it. Yeah.
That's powerful, thank you so much. You all, like, just being able to be in the community with you all is always so special to me. We are coming to the end of our time together. If folks want to learn more about this topic, where should they start? Are there resources that you would recommend?
No, I mean, I would say, effective leadership. If I was reading this book called, I gotta find it again, Management Mess. And that's from an individual perspective, because we are all in the roles in which we're in, because I would say that we're definitely effective leaders and effective managers, but at the same time, we all have our quirks and our things. And that was really helpful for me. Management Mess it's called Leadership Success. So Management Mess, Leadership Success by Scott. Oh, come on, Scott Jeffrey Miller. Keeps going out on me, but Scott Jeffrey Miller, I believe. But yeah, because once you get it from that perspective, then you have, I know for me, it helped me see things from 50 million different perspectives. And then also the piece is find somebody who has what you like and ask them how it was done. Norton Mitchell, I have to say, he's amazing at establishing and building foundations and bringing people together. And it's important for him to bring his teams and build rapport, and they come together and break bread, and he acknowledges and praises, and he's really great at doing that. And so I like what he does. So I ask him, how do you do that? I just watch him, and it's like, I want to be more like that. I want to do more of that. And I see my other managers also doing the same. So, pour into yourself, think about your leadership. What does that look like? Or, and think of some other things that you can do, because it'll all kind of spill out, because, reach one, teach one. And I think it makes a difference for me.
Well, thank you so much for that compliment, Chana. I'll start off by giving you a compliment too, right? And one of the things I've always appreciated about working with you is you allow folks to grow and present what's unique about them, and how that can be helpful to the team, right? And you even said that earlier about everybody bringing a piece of themselves into the role, and that creates that uniqueness, right? Because it helps to create a particular culture around the work that you do. So thank you for that. I consistently feel supported in that way. So I appreciate that. One of the things I want to say, what you had asked Crystal about where to go get more information. I don't have a particular book, right? But it's important to know how to write persuasively and to think about your audience. There are different ways, because of just the nature of the work that we do, that we need to write. And I write very differently when I'm writing to a ResLife partner versus someone who's in facilities, right? And it's tricky when the email, for example, is going to address both, or you're doing a presentation and both folks are in the room, to keep folks engaged, right? A lot of times with the facilities side of the house, a great bullet point, just get to what it is that you're trying to say, and then go forward. And I remember years back, I would get accused of being too ResLifey, but that's also where I was coming from.
Right.
But at that point, there were two reporting ends that I had, and I would have to adjust to who it was that I was talking to. So I think the persuasive writing is important, right? The other thing too is just stay engage with what's going on in that industry that you're in, about what the trends are. It's so important, like, when we go to professional events such as WASE, to build that network. So when something comes up, you can reach across the nation at times and talk to colleagues, because there are times where that person that you work with on one campus is now at another campus, and you're connecting in different ways, and you will hear something that will either confirm, yes, you're on the right path, or, oh, that's good, I'm going to take that and add it, or I'm going to take that and tweak it and figure out how we can work it here. And sometimes it may not be right this moment, but it would give you a different perspective about how to grow and to create an environment where people show up and they want to be in. And it's nurturing, and it's making their lived experience, so that, as Chana mentioned earlier, you will get those notes, you'll get those visits. They're like, you know what, this was a wonderful experience, and thank you for that. Because sometimes we're just in this mode of going and doing what we normally do, and we don't even realize in that moment the tremendous amount of impact it's having on that student's life. I remember just a lot of the positive experience that I had as a student have to do with how the staff reached out to me, and how supportive they were. And sometimes even when I was moving out of the residence halls and moving into my own apartment, I remember specifically getting a table and chair to be able to live in my own apartment. And that was from staff. So that's what I would say in terms of where people want to go grab information from.
And then I just want to say this, and about everybody's unique skill set. And Norton, to tell you, I always refer to my team, we're Power Rangers. Because with Power Rangers, and it may be some other, but I'm just old school. Every Power Ranger had a certain skill set, and they're excellent at it. They do it very well. But then also, when we really have to come together and really make it happen on one united front, they always come together and be that one big Power Ranger. And move in time, we're one big Power Ranger. Move out time, we're one big Power Ranger. In a course of a crisis, we're one big Power Ranger, because we don't worry about all of that. We bring all of our skill sets together and make it happen, and we pivot. Pivoting, having the ability to pivot is so valuable. Don't be married to just one thing, be married to the goal. And whatever is necessary to reach that goal, we make it happen by any means necessary.
I will not look at Power Rangers the same. Let me tell you that. That is the coolest analogy. That was perfect, y'all. This was such a great conversation. So many good professional development nuggets in there. Thank you so much, Chana and Norton, for joining me today. And thanks for joining us on this episode of ResEdChat. If you have an idea of a topic or a person that you'll like to have on the show, please let us know by reaching out to Roompact. Take care.